What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be lifting this 23 Rav4. We're going to be installing this ReadyLift. It's a 2-inch front and then a 1.5 in the rear. There's the part number. I'll open this box up and show you all the stuff that's inside. Alright, so in the box you'll get, these are your front spacers, and then these are the rear spacers. And then this will be this is a sway bar extension. And then these are the spacers for your rear subframe, and these will be for the rear subframe. And then this is also for the rear subframe. Alright, so we'll get the car racked and raised and get the wheels taken off, and then we can start with the front, getting the front shocks out. Okay, to start by taking this shock out, you'll pull these two 22mm nuts off, this 14, and so then you'll get the brake line, ABS line out of the way. There's a clip over here you'll have to undo, and then you can undo the sway bar length. I found on these sway bar links, if you hold a little bit of pressure back towards the car as you take that nut off, it helps from keeping this joint spinning and getting stuck. Okay, now that all that's loose, you can see if you just kind of let this hang down, there's plenty of slack on both these. It's not pulling on those, but now this is loose here. So the only thing holding it's the nuts up on the top. I'm going to loosen the other side, and then I'll show you the top nuts, how you remove those. Alright, so these are your 3 top strut mounts. There's one back there. This one's kind of under the cowl, so you have to use an open end wrench on this one. And then you can use just a regular wrench on these if you'd like. I like to loosen that one first and get that one. It'll come up and hit on the cowl a little bit. So then you have to loosen these so the shock drops down just a little bit. And then you can get that out past the cowl and then take these ones off and then pull your shock out. Okay, with the shocks out, we can install these top plates, and so they'll just slide right over those the factory studs, and then you'll use these studs to mount it to the car. These will only go on here one way, so you don't have to worry about getting it the wrong way. And then you'll use these nuts here to screw down onto these studs to hold the plate on. When you go to tighten these nuts on this plate, this head will want to rotate. So I found the best way to do is get a pry bar in here, and you'll just kind of wedge it between the top studs and hold it the opposite direction, and that's how you can get these tightened down. When you're using this pry bar to hold this top plate from spinning around, make sure it's right up against the plate here and not out towards the end, because if it's out at the end, it's going to want to mess up the end of these threads. But if it's in here, it might mess them up a little bit, but the nut won't go down that far, so you're not too worried about it down here. And you're not really reefing these on, so it's not going to bend these studs. Okay, now that we got the plates installed, we can go ahead and install these struts back into the car and then move on to the rear of the vehicle. Alright, to install this sway bar bracket, you'll have the bolt will go through the back side here, and then after it goes through there, you'll actually mount like this, and then you'll have the washer and the nut, and then the sway bar will then mount up to this location. Alright, now that we got the front done, we'll do the rear, and we'll start by installing the subframe spacers. The one will go here and right here. On the opposite side, we'll put a spacer here and here. So there's going to be 4 of those spacers. There's 2 nuts that we take off and 2 long bolts that are right there. And then these 12 nuts that are right here. After we get the subframe dropped down, then we'll drop the coil out and then put the spacer up on top of here. When you're installing the rear subframe spacers, right here on the back, right under the differential area, this is where you'll put your jack at. I'll be using a twist jack, but if you're using a floor jack, just put it here and just keep tension. And then I like to take the nuts off all the way, but when you do the bolts right here, I like to just take those down and leave like 4 threads in, and then that way it'll keep this subframe centered when you're putting the spacers in, and just do 1 spacer at a time. So now we got it down, we can use a 10 mil and pull this stud out, because this stud will get replaced with a new bolt, and then we can install our spacers. These 2 spacers like this, where you took those back 12s off at, these studs, these are just going to go right over these studs just to extend it down. Just like that. Okay, so we got it down enough so we can put this spacer in here, just slide it in. Like that. And then for the bolt we're gonna go the new bolt through a washer, and then through this plate, just like that, and then up through them and mount it. Okay, we got our first spacer in. Leave this bolt with a little bit of gap so you can get the rest of your spacers in, and then we'll just go through and we'll do this front spacer here, and then get that one set, and then go do the other side. Alright, the last thing we need to install in the back is this spacer, which will go up here on top. And to do that, we need to take this bolt out of the knuckle, the sway bar bolt out here, and then just loosen this 19 a little bit, and then this whole arm will come down. And you want to put your jack under this lower control arm, because this spring will have a lot of tension on it. So you want to make sure you're holding it up and then slowly relieve the pressure to get the coil out. When you're taking the bolt out from the knuckle and the sway bar, you want to take it out from the bolt side, because on the back side there's these nuts, but these nuts are staked. So this knuckle joint, when you're taking the bolt out, it wants to wobble, so the bolt can get stuck in there. So if you compress this spring up quite a ways, it'll straighten this hole out and make the bolt come out a little bit easier. So the spacer will go just right in on top of this. The rubber bushing, this is the factory rubber bushing that was on the top. And on the back side there's this little dimple. And so what you got to do is just use your finger and pull this plug out. And then you can throw that away. And then that little pin will get centered up. When you're going to reinstall these bolts, you want to install the sway bar bolt first as you're bringing the arm up. Put this one in, because if you put this one in first, it makes the sway bar a lot harder to put in. So do this one, get that in, and you don't have to tighten it down, just get it through and put the nut on, and then get this one through and get the nut on, and then tighten them both down. Okay, now that we got the rear lift spacers on, we can go ahead and get the wheels and tires put back on. Well, here's the final product. Ended up adding a roof basket and some running boards. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing and leave a like, it'll help the channel out. Thanks for watching.